What's up guys, Mike here from Job Ready English. Happy 2021, welcome to a new Past the Video interview. Today we're going to be talking about Deloitte, and if you stay until the end of this video, I will tell you why we as a company and myself as a coach for international students don't tend to deal so much with Deloitte and their interviews. So let's talk about Deloitte's video interview, which is contained within their job simulation.
Are you a simulation? Huh? Are you a simulation? No!
This tends to come after the online tests. And Deloitte is one of those companies that actually, and I feel that this is really a good thing, they tend to change their process based upon the role.
Change is good.
The first company we saw doing this really well was Barclays, which is probably about 3 or 4 years ago, and more companies are trying to adopt that style, which is opposed to, say, PwC, who pretty much give the same interview to all candidates. So often I'll get people ask questions, say, what about this job, or what about this internship, or what about if I'm working in the North Pole? And I'll just say, same interview, doesn't make too much difference. So let's get into it. What can we expect? Well, we're looking at another job simulation. So we've seen these with EY. We've seen this, or we will see this in the video that's coming soon from KPMG. And we're looking at around 18 questions to be done in 45 minutes, but it is untimed apart from the video interview. So some candidates reporting running at an hour, some at 90 minutes. To the best of our knowledge, we feel that timing doesn't seem to make that much of a difference for other companies. Like I said, you stick around to the end and I'll tell you why we don't really concentrate that much on Deloitte when it comes to the Big Four. So you're definitely going to get numerical, verbal and SJT style questions. I'm not going to talk about those because you know what to do. Just practice your online tests, make sure you're on point with those, and really you should have no problems. What I want to concentrate on are these 6 to 7 video interview questions you're going to get asked.
I just have some questions.
And also we're going to touch briefly, depending on the role, I suspect this is more consulting side. You'll get asked to do a case study with 1 or 2 questions, which kind of fits into the 6 or 7 questions, and also write a business email and summary. So we're going to touch on that a little bit, and I think there is a lot of comparables with PwC's case study, this kind of really short, relatively data filled 1 to 2 pages, but quite a simple case study, nothing to really worry ourselves about too much. And we'll talk a little bit about business email, but I have to say, go and check out our Past the Interview for EY. I talked about business email in great detail. You can find that in the timestamps. So I'm not going to talk about that too much today. Quick question, throw it down in the comments. Just wondering whether you prefer a video like this with me in front of a bookshelf, or you prefer a video of me drawing stuff out on a whiteboard. That'd be great to know. So let's jump in. So looking at these interview questions, these 6 to 7 questions, first of all, let's look at format. So we'd have 3 minutes to prepare and 3 minutes to answer, which is a pretty long time. We don't tend to see that depth of time in terms of preparation answering, which means there's probably a little bit of latitude to have some notes or some crib notes lying around for you to refer to, specifically if you've prepared scripts for the different questions. And if you don't know how to prepare scripts, check out the link in the description below for our interview success system, when we have a part specifically dedicated to writing quick and easy interview scripts. So what sort of questions can we expect? Well, there was a broad range that came up from candidates. I've picked out kind of 5 questions that I feel there is a reasonable possibility will come up, and we'll try and cover a few of the others as well. So we always prepare for why Deloitte, why this role. Just time and time again, this is a higher view style questions. You're just going to get these questions come up. So why Deloitte? Do your research. For all of the Big Four, there's really no excuse just to go there, learn through about us, look at the company report page. There's so much that you could be doing out there. So that's something you really want to be taking full advantage of, making sure you're writing out 5-6 facts. You know, these are the 5 reasons why I want to work for Deloitte. These are the things which are most impactful to me, and try and personalize that as well. That's something we tend to say to clients. They'll just write a list of facts, and I'll say, well, there's nothing personable about that. Something we dealt with recently was preparing candidates for a series of interviews for National Grid. And what they did was they just wrote out a series of facts about National Grid, like they have X thousand kilometres of power lines and they produce this much power and so on and so forth. And ultimately it just sounded like exactly what it was, a list. So some thought needs to go in there, and also saying, you know, why is that fact important to you? Why the role? Just look at the job description. So remember, why the role is a 2-part answer, which is what is my understanding of the role and what I do day to day. And the second thing is, you know, what are the skills and experiences that I bring to the table. So just this kind of sort of system of pattern matching. If you haven't had a chance to look at, watch our video about how to write a great UK CV, when I talk about application tracking systems, keyword matching, this kind of element about pattern matching, when candidates will say like, oh, well, you know, is this a good CV or is this a good answer? And I just say, well, does it match the job description? Are you basically saying you have the skills that they want? I mean, it's a simple market exchange, yeah? So what about some other questions? What are your strengths and weaknesses? These candidates hate these questions. Number one, because it's kind of reasonably vague. I always tend to say, you know, maybe 3 strengths, 1 weakness. With the strengths, you know, try and match them with the skills, but also just be honest about it. Are you really analytical? Are you great at learning? Are you a good speaker? Are you a good writer? Are you good at preparing presentations? Like, don't try to mold yourself too hard. It's pretty easy when you ask somebody like, what are you good at? And if you don't know, just ask 5 friends. A friend of me recently, she was doing a personal development project, and she said, hey, I'm just asking 5 friends what my 3 strengths are. So if you're not able to see that, it's really much easier for your friend to be able to see that. When it comes to the weakness, so I tend to not be so much on the side of what I call like really weak or flimsy answers, like I work too hard, I can't say no, wah. Like, you know that it just sounds false. It just sounds a little bit kind of bitty about it. You know, for example, a weakness of mine is that I tend to overwork. So I'm sitting here doing this video with you today from my home office because it's Thursday and I've just realised I just need a break. So I'll sit here, do a little bit of video in the morning, and then I'll sit there and have a break because I know that's my self-confessed weakness, and that's legitimate and it's true. Now, whatever that may be for you, maybe sometimes maybe you rush too much. Just recently I was preparing a candidate for the final stage of a big technology consulting firm, and we were talking about weaknesses. And the weakness that he actually gave is that he sometimes just has a tendency to rush and not have the eye for detail. But the way that he sort of, you want to make your answer in such a way that somebody listening to it basically doesn't get a red flag. People very often try and concentrate on like what makes a great answer, a really good answer. Look at it on the other side and just don't make your answer super bad. So for example, if someone says, in a job interview, I struggle to turn up on time, or I really don't work very well with other people, that's what we call a red flag. That's just something that is probably going to cannonball the rest of your interview. So when we're talking about like, sometimes I rush, but what I realized is when I got feedback from one of my colleagues on a recent project, I actually now just take the time, I'll set aside an hour just for that project or however much time that needs, just to proofread it, go through it and be really sure that I understand what it's all about, where my mistakes are. And plus I'm a better person because I know my weaknesses. Like, that's a strong weakness. That's a strong play for saying we all have our faults, but actually I'm aware of it and I'm working on it. Introducing yourself to senior colleagues. This question seemed to come up a lot, but really it's just about nailing a really good personal intro. So a good personal intro kind of goes like this. It's one of the first things that we work on with our clients because it's just learning how to sell yourself. So who are you? What are you studying and where? What do you want to do? Why do you want to do it? What's your work experience, extracurricular activities and hobbies? So that's kind of the order that you'd work through for a personal introduction. And if you want me to make a video about kind of nailing really good personal introductions, drop a comment down below and I'll be sure to pick that up.
Someone comment!
So with all of these, if you can get a personal intro nailed in about 2 minutes, is so strong. It builds a really strong foundation for everything else that you're going to do because you're able to just reel stuff off really quickly. For example, I have a standard personal intro, whether I'm talking to a potential client or to a university or just to another interested professional party. I say, hi, my name's Mike, I'm the founder of Job Ready English. I've been helping international students since 2013, 5 jobs. I've talked to almost 30,000 students, worked with over 500 clients, and of the 200 clients I've worked with one-to-one, I have a 92% success rate, and I'm confident that I can help you, your partners, or whoever is involved to find a job at a Times Top 100 company. Done. Now, that didn't happen by chance. That's been refined time after time. Personal intro is really about repetition and saying things about what rings true. And also, it's got to be kind of specific to you. So, and knowing your audience. So for me, I know that people really want to hear about the successes that I've had, how many people I've spoken to, how many clients that I've had. That's kind of what they're interested in. They don't want to know that much about me and my background. They just want results. So rinse and repeat that sort of 8-9 stage process and try and sift it down to about 2 minutes.
Again and again and again!
Now the fifth question that comes up is kind of the fifth and sixth question, because expect to potentially answer a question about a recent piece of news or a recent advancement or something specific to the industry that you're working in. This comes up a lot in technology. So we see this time and time again where really any kind of technology graduate program and a consulting program as well, they want to see that your finger's on the pulse. A lot of people want to work in consulting, but actually when we speak to them and say, okay, great, like, tell me about a piece of technology you're excited working in. Tell me about something innovative that's going on right now in your industry. They don't really know anything, and it's kind of false. It's what we sort of define as incongruence, because you're saying that you really want to do this thing, but you're not doing it. It's like somebody sitting there shoveling donuts in their mouth saying, I've really got to lose weight. I'll do it tomorrow. And then you come back the next day and your housemate is there like chowing down on a family bag of Doritos and drinking full fat Coke, and you just think, well, that's incongruent. It doesn't, what you're doing does not match what you say that you're going to do. And within that, you should expect at least one role related question. Don't expect it to be technical. It might be, what do you know about audit? What do you know about the qualifications that you're going to take? Tell me about your coding experience. Tell me about your experience of working in this industry. They're going to be light touch questions. So sometimes we have candidates come to us and be like, oh my God, I don't know anything about audit. I've never sat the ACA exams. And like, dude, that's not the point. That's not what they're asking. But they want you to kind of know what it is, to know about the exams that you're taking. And then, we've got a couple of other questions, whether they be, what does successful collaboration mean to you? A strength-based question, or when was a time you changed the way something was done and what was the outcome? Competency. How do you see audit progressing in the future? That's an interesting one about technological innovation. What challenges face your industry? What would you do if you messed up a task? All of these really relate to competency and strength-based questions. So you should kind of be systematic in your process of, we tend to deal with, the 20, 25 most commonly asked competency-based questions. Same there or thereabouts with strength-based questions. And then it's just rinse and repeat those questions, because they're going to be randomized, and it's really clear from looking at what candidates have said that, the questions are going to be different most of the time. So it's not a standard rinse and repeat. There is going to be a lot of changing up, which I think is great because it gives a realistic appraisal of a candidate's ability to prepare and not just kind of sit there and write rote answers. So I want to talk really quickly about the case study and writing an email and a summary. For me, I never feel like case studies are something to worry about. There's loads of places that you can practice case studies. I tend to favour MIT Sloan School of Management. They do some really cool case studies which are pretty in-depth, but you can find some shorter ones. These case studies are going to be 1 or 2 pages, maybe 5 at the maximum. So don't be always practice harder. You know, we train hard to compete easy. That's something that we kind of repeat over and over again with our clients. And when writing an email and a summary, just think about, you know, who are you writing to? A summary of what you're going to talk about, a paragraph per point of what you're going to say, and a conclusion to say, do you need any more information? What are your recommendations? What's your conclusions? What's your next step? And then signing that email off. So it's actually pretty simple, just thinking about it in terms of a kind of systematic listing process as you're going for the email. So anyway, guys, as promised, I want to talk to you about why we don't tend to deal too much with Deloitte. To be honest, my experience with Deloitte over the last 6 or 7 years, we've had quite a few. I've had quite a few clients go to Deloitte, but for quite a long period of time, they were really resistant to hiring international students. Of all of the big four, they kind of said, look, we're really not that interested. We don't want to have to go through this whole process of sponsoring international students, which is a massive shame because they're probably one of the best consulting companies to work for in the UK. They've got a big draw. Whether that's going to change, I'm not really sure. We still tend to be quite tentative about Deloitte. Certainly with the graduate route, it's going to make things a lot easier because Deloitte basically just didn't want the hassle, and also they wanted clients on a long timeline, so they wanted to be able to convert people over within the 6-month period. But I'd love to know people's thoughts about it, people's comments. Are you an international student or professional watching this who's got a job at Deloitte and knows something different to what we do? But yeah, we've always been a little bit hesitant around Deloitte, and I guess I know that these videos are being watched by a wider audience than just international students, and also we want to cover most of the professional services firms. But it's something to think about and bear in mind in your application, which really goes to show, you know, you need a broad range of applications. Guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Be sure to pop in a comment. We do read them all. Thank you so much and see you soon. Bye.